You already know how to survive. You wake up, you navigate people, you make decisions, you protect yourself. You have been doing it your entire life. But there is a man who lived 500 years ago who watched the most powerful rulers in human history rise and collapse, and he wrote down exactly why. And almost nobody today actually understands what he discovered. His name was Niccolo Machiavelli, and what he knew about power would make most people deeply uncomfortable. Here is the thing about power that nobody tells you. It is not about strength. It is not about intelligence. It is not even about money. Machiavelli spent decades studying the courts of Florence, the wars of Italy, the rise of popes, and the collapse of kings. And what he found was something far stranger. Power, real, lasting power, is about perception. It is about what people believe about you. And most people are handing theirs away every single day without ever realizing it. Let that sit for a moment. Because this is where Machiavelli starts to get dangerous. He was born in Florence in 1469. This was a city where fortunes rose and fell overnight, where alliances formed and shattered, where a man could be celebrated as a hero one morning and executed before sunset. Machiavelli watched all of it. He served as a diplomat and senior official for the Florentine Republic for 14 years. He met Cesare Borgia, one of the most feared men alive at the time, and was transfixed. Not because Borgia was cruel, but because Borgia understood something that almost everyone else missed. People do not follow strength. They follow certainty. Think about the leaders in your own life, the ones who commanded a room, the ones people listened to without being asked twice. Were they necessarily the smartest person in the room? The most qualified? Rarely. What they had was something else entirely. They never seemed unsure. They never apologized for their decisions. They made you feel, even when you disagreed with them, that they knew exactly where they were going. Machiavelli called this virtù. Not virtue in the moral sense. Virtù was closer to force of will, the ability to shape circumstances rather than be shaped by them. And he believed that most people never develop it, not because they lack ability, but because they are waiting for permission that will never come. Here is what he observed about rulers who failed. They all shared the same fatal flaw. They were too eager to be liked. That sounds almost too simple, but researcher and political theorist Erica Benner, who spent years decoding Machiavelli's actual writing rather than the distorted version most people know, argues that this is the core of everything he taught. The desperate need for approval is the single greatest weakness a person in power can have. Because approval is something other people give you, and anything other people give you, they can take away. When you make decisions based on what people want to hear, you are no longer leading. You are being led. You have handed control of your own direction to the people around you, and the moment circumstances change, the moment they need something you cannot give, they will redirect that loyalty somewhere else without hesitation. Machiavelli was not saying you should be cruel. This is the most common misreading of his work. He was saying something far more precise. He was saying that a leader who is feared is more stable than a leader who is merely loved, because love is conditional, and fear is not. Love depends on the other person's mood, their needs, their changing situation. Fear is a constant. It does not evaporate when circumstances shift. But here is the part that almost everyone misses when they read that line. Machiavelli immediately clarifies it. He says the worst thing a ruler can do is be hated. Not feared, hated. There is a precise distinction. Fear commands respect. Hatred inspires resistance. And the fastest way to move from feared to hated, the thing that almost every failing leader does, is to take from people what they cannot replace: their dignity, their sense of safety, their home. So where does that leave you? Because you are not running a Renaissance city-state. You are navigating offices and relationships and conversations and ambitions. You are trying to figure out how to be taken seriously without becoming someone you do not recognize. Here is what Machiavelli's work actually teaches when you strip away the centuries of misinterpretation. The first thing he understood is that people do not see reality. They see appearance. They see what you show them. Historian Quentin Skinner, who spent decades studying Renaissance political thought, points out that Machiavelli was among the first political thinkers to truly separate the performance of power from the internal experience of it. What you feel internally is irrelevant to how you are perceived. What matters is what people see when they look at you.
This is not cynicism. This is psychology. It is the same thing modern behavioral researchers have confirmed repeatedly. People form judgments about competence, trustworthiness, and authority within seconds of meeting someone. Before a word has been spoken, before a decision has been made, they are reading signals. They are reading posture, tone, eye contact, silence, the deliberateness of your movements. They are answering a question your presence is asking them. Is this person in control of themselves? Because if you are in control of yourself, you might be in control of them. And that possibility is magnetic. The second thing Machiavelli understood is that consistency is rarer than genius. Most people are wildly inconsistent. They are generous when they feel good and cold when they feel threatened. They make promises they forget about. They shift their positions depending on who is in the room. And because of that inconsistency, they are impossible to trust. Even when people want to trust them. Even when people genuinely like them. Machiavelli watched rulers who were brilliant but unpredictable collapse under the weight of their own inconsistency. And he watched quieter, less gifted men hold power for decades, simply because people knew exactly what to expect from them. Predictability feels like strength, because in a world that is chaotic and uncertain, a person who behaves the same way under pressure as they do in peace feels almost supernatural. The third thing, and this is the one that makes people most uncomfortable, is that Machiavelli believed mercy, offered too quickly and too freely, is a form of cowardice dressed up as kindness. He is not saying be hard. He is saying be deliberate. There is a difference between forgiving someone because you have genuinely considered the situation and decided that forgiveness serves a purpose, and giving in because conflict makes you anxious. One is strength expressed as grace. The other is weakness expressed as generosity. And people, whether they are conscious of it or not, can tell the difference. They always can. Research by psychologist Dasher Keltner at the University of California, Berkeley found something Machiavelli would have recognized immediately. His studies on power dynamics showed that people in perceived positions of low status will often give in to social pressure, offer concessions, and over-apologize. Not because they want to, but because they are trying to reduce tension. And far from earning them respect, this pattern consistently reduced how others perceived their authority. Accommodation without power looks like submission, and submission invites more pressure, not less. So what do you do with all of this? You start paying attention to what you are signaling. Every interaction you have is communicating something to the people around you. The question is whether you are choosing what that something is, or whether you are letting your anxiety choose it for you. You stop apologizing for things that do not require an apology. This does not mean becoming arrogant. It means becoming precise. An apology is a powerful tool when it is warranted. When it is used reflexively, as a social lubricant, as a way to lower tension that you did not cause, it signals that you believe you are the problem, and people will begin to treat you accordingly. You practice consistency above all else, not perfection. Consistency. Showing up the same way. Following through on what you said. Holding positions that you actually hold, rather than adjusting them every time someone pushes back. This is what Machiavelli called keeping faith. Not in a religious sense, but in the sense that your word becomes a solid thing in the world. Something people can build on. And perhaps most importantly, you stop waiting to feel ready. This is the thing about virtue that Machiavelli observed in every effective leader he studied. They did not wait until they had certainty before they acted with certainty. They understood that confidence is not a feeling that precedes action. It is a posture that produces it. You act as though you know where you are going, and often you find that you did. 500 years ago, in a cell in Florence, after being stripped of his position and briefly imprisoned, Machiavelli sat down and wrote the book that would scandalize the world. He was writing for rulers, but he was really writing about something universal. He was writing about the gap between the world as we wish it were and the world as it actually is. He believed, and the evidence of history supported him, that people who succeed in that real world are not the ones who are the most talented or the most moral or the most loved. They are the ones who see clearly, who understand that perception is reality, who refuse to be led by their own need for approval, who act with consistency, deliberateness, and an absolute refusal to perform weakness. You woke up this me,